wonder if I didn't read down to the right one. God is our maker, and in union with Jesus Christ, he has created us for a life of good works, which he has already prepared us to do. And one of the versions I read, it ended with, God's love is so great. And that's today's message. Just a moment. I think I need a drink. Or I'm going to quit my job. May the words of my mouth, the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Well, thank you, Helen and Sandy, for the children's contribution. That was a fun story. And it leads into today's message of God's love is so great. Oh, here it is. It's Ephesians 2:4. It wasn't the end of it. It's in the middle of it. God's mercy is so rich, and his love for us is so great. These are the words as translated into the Good News version, and is the version I'm speaking on today. And it started out with the new international version, but I switched to the Good News because of the wording. His love for us is so great. When Mel phoned last week, asked if I could do today's service because Pat wasn't available. Pat's not feeling well, Pat McKinnon. I thought, okay, I guess it's time I returned. I haven't been here in 2 years, so last Sunday I showed up at church. Been doing some of this. Getting a little scared, but I guess it's time to step out. I've gone back to choir. That's exciting. After 2 years, it's been an interesting period of time for everyone. So I'm really happy for this opportunity, so thank you, Mel, for asking. But when saying yes, there was one thing I was not prepared for, and that's how my week went. God's mercy is so rich, and his love for us is so great. 3, count them, 3 events happened this week. And back to back to back, this week. When Mel had asked me to take today's service, all 3 relate to this subject that I chose to talk on today, which, by the way, is based on the United Church Lectionary for our Lenten season. So obviously it was all meant to be. God's love for us is so great. Okay, first I said yes to Mel. And I began my research on the United Church to find out what we're supposed to be doing today and see if I can keep you in line with our lectionary, etc. And I looked through their themes and I chose random acts of kindness after reading this scripture. 5 minutes later, after making my topic decision, I got a phone call from my friend in Nova Scotia asking for help. She wanted me to execute a random act of kindness on her behalf. She wanted to plan one. She needed help because the recipient lives in Alberta and my friend lives in Nova Scotia. Wednesday, I got another call from another friend. She was all excited and had to just share it. She was just bubbling over. With her brother, she had done another random act of kindness. And she says, I'm not phoning to brag. She said, I'm so excited, I have to share it. And then our daughter and grandkids arrived on our doorstep this weekend. Yay! And Sandy found the cutest random act of kindness. Not intended. She didn't know what I was talking about even yet. She just found it. So 3 examples in 1 week span, beginning 5 minutes from the spark created by my reading. God's love for us is so great. I was just floored. I couldn't believe it. Somebody, someplace, something is talking to me. So first let me share Sandy's story. She shared with me a video clip of a little boy about to end up in a swimming pool. My heart jumped into my throat. I'm watching this is going on because it's a video. That little guy could drown. I was just, why are you showing me this? Don't scare me. Then a dog came along and pulled on his shirt and pulled the child away from the edge. Whew, I was so grateful. It's just lovely. But then we realized it didn't stop there. The dog went to the edge of a shed, came back with a stick in his mouth, went back to the pool. Interesting. He literally scooped that implement into the pool just as you and I would, only he had it balanced in his mouth, of course. We would scoop. Okay. And in 3 desperate tries, using the actual tool that we scoop into pools with. Did you want to talk to me? I'm sorry, I thought someone was hitting me. Had I forgotten something? No, good. Okay. In 3 desperate tries, he actually used that implement and scooped out a child's football. I guess that's what the child was after. He not only saved the child, but he also retrieved the ball for the child, knowing the child would return for it. The dog did the random act of kindness. A dog. A dog. God at work through a dog. Ephesians 2:4. God's love for us is so great. The second story was written up for me. For when I spoke with my friend on Wednesday, she was bubbling over with all her participation that day. She was so glad to be involved. I asked for written information on it to share with you today, and she sent me this. It was a bittersweet day as 4 pickups drove from Bilski Contracting in Athabasca to St. Albert Costco to fill the trucks with the necessities: diapers, toiletries, toilet paper, socks, underwear, deodorant, Tylenol, and the list goes on and on. The 4 loads were taken to the Polish Hall in Edmonton, where they would continue their journey to our fellow Ukrainians in need, as they are forced to flee their country with the clothes on their back, children and pets in tow. To see all the donations that so many of our fellow Albertans have given, to see the endless number of volunteers, to see so much love in these donations that were received, created and packed to get ready for the long trip to those in need. Let's all say a prayer for those in need and for everyone out there who helps in any way they can as we see this senseless war carry on. And she sent me a photograph as well, if anybody wants to see it afterwards, from Bilski Contracting. It's her 3 brothers own this business, and she works at it. So these 4 siblings are in the picture as well. God at work through a call to the public. Ephesians 2:4. God's love for us is so great. And my third story. This week, I had the privilege of being God's messenger in a friend's random act of kindness. It made me feel so warm, so good, and so grateful that I was invited to be part of it. Let me back up and start at the beginning. First, I'm a quilter. Some of you know that. And I go down that YouTube rabbit hole of quilting videos. And a few years back, I found my favorite. Mom and Pop Quilt Shop in Nova Scotia. If you ever see it, you'll laugh out loud because the hostess and I are almost duplicates. Mostly in personality, but both also about the same stature, and we used to both have red hair. We talk quickly. We sew with the pedal firmly planted to the floor as if it were a race. And can get distracted by the nearest squirrel, if you know what I mean. And chat up a storm for ages. So you can see why I fell in love with her. And her name is Laura Lynn. Lovingly called Mum from her shop's title, Mom and Pop Quilt Shop. So I follow her every Saturday morning when I'm home. She does Saturday morning live streams, which gives me an opportunity to participate in an online chat community with other like-minded quilters. And that's what I did over those 2 years of COVID when I couldn't get out with my fellow quilters and I missed them so much. I fell in love with this, and I'm chatting with people everywhere around the world. So 400 to 500 of us chit-chat via text for a couple of hours. Sounds like a babble, doesn't it? It is. But some are quieter than others, or maybe they just can't get a word in edgewise because I'm also a fast typist around my motor mouth. But we have definitely built a community of caring, and we share our good and our bad stories. A week ago, one of our chatters named Valerie, who lives in Edmonton, sadly reported that her sewing machine had been stolen. She was taking it to get it serviced, got to her apartment door and thought, oh, I gotta have a mask. She ran back, got her mask, came back, and the machine was gone. I'd have done the same thing. I mean, we just, it's an instant. So everybody expressed how sorry they were. You know, it's just a wonderful supporting group. Well, the story could have just ended there. But without thinking of that story, I further shared that I was going to Edmonton, which would now be last Thursday. And what end of Edmonton did she live? Maybe we could meet up. And of course, there's no way we can give her phone numbers or addresses over the phone, so we discussed a time and a Tim Hortons at which to meet. But also through the discussion of where to meet, she said she lived West End and would look up the bus schedules to where I would be, which I was going to be in the southeast corner. I said, oh, that'll be a long haul from West End by buses. Find some place closer to you and I'll come to you because I'm driving. I'm going to be in the city. Little did I know how important it would turn out to be that I go to her. It was exciting, we both thought. And others in the chat lamented that they couldn't join us. I mean, they're from Australia, Holland, Texas, wherever. I am going to make it to Edmonton next Thursday. Now, Laura Lynn has a website, and a few years ago, through her website, I'd emailed her on some other stuff, and eventually we started to exchange phone numbers by email, and we've chatted on the phone, and we've texted together, and we've, become friends. So that afternoon, after this, 5 minutes after I'd made my decision, I got a phone call from Laura Lynn that said, I got a text from her. Something to the effect, would I like to play her messenger next Thursday when I'm in Edmonton, since she lives in Nova Scotia and can't quite make it in time. She, her husband Kent, and their adult son Marcus agreed to pool some money, said it was their mission to come to the aid of one of the followers on their live stream.
Excuse me, what part of it are you on this?
I'm on the sermon.
You're on your own, please.
Pardon me?
Could you use the mic?
Oh, am I not using a mic?
And what part are you on this?
I'm on the back, under the message.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Zane, no problem. Am I not close enough? I'll speak closer. Thanks, Zane. Okay, now I know this story by heart. Where am I? Oh, she wanted to do something for someone on the live stream. She's chosen Valerie. I was just shocked. They want to replace the sewing machine that she lost. Just out of the goodness of their hearts. They just picked up on this. They haven't done this to any of the people before. This isn't a habit they do. It's just they were drawn that they've got to do something. So the three of them pooled their money and said, let's do this. And they felt compelled. So, I mean, how awesome is that? And even more awesome, they asked if I would play messenger to get this machine to Valerie when I'm in Edmonton this week. Well, last week then. I was so honored to be part of it. So first we know that Valerie doesn't drive, for she said she chose the Tim Hortons near her as she has to walk or bus everywhere. So I knew the closest quilting shop to that Tim Hortons. Of course I do. I know every quilting shop in Alberta, I think. And I gave Laura Lynn that phone number. Our worry was where Valerie dealt in Edmonton, as we all have our favorites, but I chose Johnson Sewing Centre, West Side, as is closest to Valerie by bus. So she could return there easily for her free classes. You get free classes with it, why not take them? After all, who would turn down a free sewing machine? So Laura Lynn and I discussed how we could do this. I gave Laura Lynn the shop's phone number. Laura Lynn phoned them. Lo and behold, that's exactly where Valerie shops. She's known to them. They serviced her stolen machine many times, and they're sorry to hear that it was taken, but they know the brand and model number even of what she had. Laura Lynn was able to replace the exact same machine. I couldn't believe it. I already had the Tim Hortons date planned, so I would meet Valerie there, but instead of coffee time, I think I'd go and I'd suggest to Valerie, I have one more errand to run, and would she run with me to double up the time so we could get to know each other, and would she be willing to get into a car with an almost stranger? Well, we've chatted so much online, and she knows that Laura Lynn and Kent know me, so I might be vetted that way, and she might have some faith and trust in me. So it was arranged to keep this secret from Valerie as long as possible. So long story short, let me shorten this up. I picked up my friend Shelley in Camrose on the way to Edmonton because she was going to volunteer with me in Edmonton. Now Shelley's blind and walks with a white cane, so maybe that'll make her feel a little more easy too. I mean, how far is Shelley going to run with? Okay. The bonus is we would look less threatening. Right. there's always a risk meeting strangers, and I'm about as strange as we come. I clued Shelley in, and she too was thrilled to be now involved in this random act of kindness on behalf of Laura Lynn. We do our volunteer time in Edmonton for a few hours, and finally it's time to find Valerie. Tim Hortons asked a few females if they are Valerie, reminding ourselves that men so, and Valerie's also a man's name. It's less common, I guess. Finally, a lady walks in and is looking around, so I ask if she's Valerie. Yes, and I introduce myself as Gwennie. Is she looking for me? Before I get finished my question, she shouted, yes, hello! So glad to meet you. Nice, she's enthusiastic about this meeting too. Okay. So yes, I pull my little trick on her. We're running a little short on time. We've got another errand to run, and she already knew, I'd already explained that I've got a 2-hour trip home. So would you jump in the car with us and go on this errand to save us time, and we can visit along the way? And she said, oh, no problem. Now comes the interesting part. I just have to share this with you first. Valerie is severely crippled. One leg will not fully extend forward for each step. The second leg is twisted to the side a bit. She relies heavily on her cane for balance. She shifts her feet in order to walk. She gets in my car, which is a struggle, and I've lowered the seat as far as I can. And even though I've lowered it to its maximum, I apologize, I don't have a lower car. I mean, now what's that? Well, I apologize, I don't know. But as if I'm responsible for the height of cars and when I pick up people. How crazy is that? Her response was, it's lower than the buses. I guess she's right. She's used to all this. So we travel to Johnson's, and on the second circle around the block, I'm trying to find a spot nearby. I always park 2 blocks away. There's no way I can do that to her. She says, I get off the bus, I walk all the time. 2 blocks is fine. I said, we're going to try once more. And we did circle block, and we got a spot right in front of the house, the shop. Bonus! We enter the store, and Shelley distracts Valerie while I arrange for the presentation. The clerk comes out, gives her the gift certificate, and Valerie almost loses her balance. She's so blown away. I grab a chair for her to sit, and she just grins and grins. She can't talk. The clerk asks her if she wants the same machine she had before, and she hopes she can, but she doesn't know how much is on this gift certificate. I mean, she has no money to top it up. No, it's okay. It's covered. It's covered. She'd like the exact same machine. Yes, she would. Wow. Out comes the clerk with a big box, and we get her a rolling cart, help her travel with it on the bus. We get it all clear, and we drive Valerie home, and I think that's going to be the end of it. And yeah, I got to share this with you. So now I know where she lives. I've driven her home. I find where she lives, her apartment. We pull up in front of her apartment, and we assemble the rolling cart. And then we disassemble the box. Shelley's in the back seat trying to break open the box. And so we pull everything out of the box, and we pack it into her little rolling cart, and put the machine in the middle. We've emptied the box and put the packing back in the car. She's beaming. She's just standing there, just beaming. Shelley and I are having so much fun. And I ask if I can help her to her apartment, which, by the way, is a very small 2-story walk-up with a sidewalk that is in bad need of repair. No thanks, she says, I can handle this. And she struggles as she pulls that machine along that bumpy old sidewalk and keeps herself upright on her shuffling feet. And someone from the building immediately calls out, can I help you, Shelley? So someone does watch and help her. That's good. Somebody's there. But it's like, I was just blown away. It seems that someone keeps on. Well, so then I drove away. And I said to Shelley, maybe we better let's see how far she had to walk to the Tim Hortons. We drove 2 blocks. She had to walk the 2 blocks, cross a highway to get to Tim Hortons to visit me. Can you imagine if I'd said, yeah, I don't have time, you hop the bus and come and see me? It would have been like 4, I don't know the bus system. Tons of buses from West End Edmonton to Southeast. I was just south of Bonnytown. We were volunteering down there at another event. Okay, so, but now listen to this story. While we were driving, we shared stories. I told him I had 2 kids and 5 grandkids, including a couple here, all in Edmonton. And she has 1 niece in Vancouver, 1 nephew in Toronto. That's the extent of her family. She has no close friends, no quilt guild until she found our guild on YouTube. My impression that she's very likely on social assistance of some kind. Further, she shared she was so lucky so fortunate to receive a duplicate machine, which is a higher end machine than most people would buy, because she has trouble using her foot control on the machine. And this is the first machine in that range of machines that has a push button for start and stop. Had we bought a different machine for her, it would have been useless for her. We didn't know. Someone led us. God is great. God is so good. So I texted Laura Lynn and I told her, your gift of kindness could not have gone to a more worthy recipient. It just moved my heart. Okay, so further, Shelley said that in the store, it was all she could do to keep from crying. It was such a moving experience. It was. She was so pleased, too, to be part of it. So God at work across the miles. First, we had God at work through the dog. We had God at work. What was our second one? Oh, yes, the community involvement with the trucks that delivered. And now we have God at work across the miles. Ephesians 2:4, God's love for us is so great. So why do I tell you this story? Not that all the good deeds we did and all that stuff, and not even for the good deed that Laura Lynn did, but for the fulfillment of God's promise in Ephesians 2 that we read. And I was a chosen messenger of one of these acts of kindness. I was just so honored. I was privileged to be included in this sort, and thanks, Mom and Pop, I was. So, Laura Lynn, Kent, and Marcus didn't do it for the glory, do it for the recognition, and they did promote their shop. They did this because they were called to do it, and they answered that call. Our young ladies in today's children's story, one was ready to quit. She just had it. She felt she could take no more. She even saw the family speaking to her manager and knew she was going to hear some dreadful things about her service. And when Helen shared the happy news of how she actually single-handed was about to make the whole restaurant look good because of the patrons' letter writing, it changed her whole world. She breathed a sigh of relief and was willing to face another day back at work with a whole new perspective. And all it took was one small, very small, minute, little appreciation for her work. Well-earned appreciation. Recognition of a job well done. Time taken by the family to express their thanks and appreciation. That's all it took. God certainly does work in mysterious ways. God at work through a thank you. God's love for us is so great. Many, many times I've been privileged to witness other random acts of kindness, and all of them have warmed my heart, and it's catchy. When one sees someone pick up a child who's fallen off her bike and treats him to an ice cream cone at the store beside him, and the mom was in tow, by the way. Or how about if you see someone that needs a smile? It's all it takes. Smile back. What, after all, does it take for us to do something for someone? 5 minutes? Maybe 3? Maybe just the time it takes to smile. Can we not spare a moment to share God's love with another? So this week I challenge you, can you find someone you believe deserves a pick-me-up? Can you find someone for whom you can do a quick, random act of kindness? You need some ideas? They don't have to be complicated, like Laura Lynn's gift across the mile. That was a little complicated. They can be quick and easy, just like at the restaurant. Both are great, and even small have a huge impact on a person who's not expecting it. I've got some copies here if you want to stop after coffee and read through. I have a list of 52 acts of kindness that I copied off the internet, one for each week of the year. But I'm only challenging you to do one this week. I'm not asking for a huge stretch. Just an awareness of how easy it can be to share God's love. An awareness of how you will feel when someone is overjoyed over a simple, small offering. I challenge each and every one of us to date to find someone for whom we can do just one small thing. One simple little thing. Think about it. I also printed those 52 random acts of kindness, so if you want a couple of hints, come see me at coffee. That's an invitation to get somebody to sit and talk to me because I talk so much. And maybe something there will spark an idea for your family. Browse through them, or if you really want a copy, I think we might twist Mel's arm for a copy sometime. I do have it on a stick she can get it from. But let's remember, Ephesians 2:4, God's love for us is so great. It's so great that it brings others to us for us to share God's love. It's so great that we want to seek opportunities to share God's love. Let's share that love today. God's love is so great. Thanks be to God.